My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. The Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department. Unity is maintaining aerial surveillance, and they're doing so while they're amplifying helicopter activity. They're doing so under the fake sun. You'll recall at 12:31 p.m. you saw the Ontario Police gang stalking by flying over the same apartment complex, and that fake sun was right here over me at the front door at 12:31 p.m. The current time is 3:20 p.m. The Ontario Police is currently aware of the video documentation that continuously is published online, exposing specific names and badge numbers of the demons who are going to federal prison, gang stalking as a part of that corrupt department, and they are defiantly, continuously engaging in that gang stalking by helicopter, which is why the Ontario Police Department, entirely demon-infected department that are full of sex offenders, and that is not hyperbolic speech. They're engaged in terrorism right now, stalking in helicopter, and that is not sunlight. That is speaking to the condition of those who are gang stalking right now at 3:21 p.m. and the particular identity of that demon who is engaged in criminal activity committed by the entire Ontario Police Department, who is going to be prosecuted for also federal stalking and also criminal acts of obstruction of justice. While they are continuously engaging in gang stalking environment, that is not sunlight, that's reaching the depths of a third party's apartment. She's going to be locked up in a federal facility. This is not sunlight, this is criminal monitoring, and the entire property, Woodside Senior Apartments, is going to federal prison for gang stalking with Mike Lorenz, a sex offender who is engaging in and is facilitating, knows all about the evidence published online, and that's why he's permanently done with law enforcement. This is what Derek Williams was also engaged in. He has now retired. He is not escaping a prosecution for terrorism in California. There is no sunlight that's going to appear in this manner. That's not sunlight. And that's not sunlight. Okay, the entity is engaging in what is amplified audible activity using helicopters because demons who are mentally ill, who have no business whatsoever in law enforcement, they engage in what is the psychopathic pattern of conduct of engaging in more terrorism and acts of retaliation because they are hostile, because the world knows that the Ontario Police Department are demon possessed and they're gang stalkers. They are not a legitimate law enforcement agency. So I'm going to show you the fake sun now. While they are monitoring my evidence, they're aware of what's being published online, and the world is going to witness the foolishness of this corrupt department, and this is the reason why they are going to be disbanded. They're not the only department that's going to be disbanded. They also engaged in kidnapping, just like the Upland Police. That is the basis of disbanding. But they're group stalking using helicopters, and they're doing so while the target individual who's blowing the whistle on the state of California. Everybody in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison. It's psychological torture that the Ontario Police Department is practicing, not law enforcement. They are not free to use any helicopters gang stalking in the specific environment. They do so abusing and wasting resources with the city of Ontario. Paul Leon is hereby publicly exposed as a demon-possessed gang stalker, fully engaged in and facilitating and knowledgeable about the public corruption that is the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department. There is no time frame where the sun would be present at this venue, as you've already seen in video documentation, at 7:18 in the morning. And it would have any sunlight here. This is not sunlight, this is engineered light that's reaching underneath a covered patio. Okay, this is a covered patio, this is not sunlight. This is also not anywhere at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where I documented the entity keeping a fake sun where the Los Angeles Police Department were gang stalking in helicopter. This is the criminal pattern of conduct by the state of California. Mike Lorenz is necessarily mandatory permanent removal from law enforcement for engaging in facilitating gang stalking by demons who are the employees of the Ontario Police Department. This is prosecuting the corrupt government. The city of Ontario is gang stalking, and that, by the way, is a light source. This is the same position where you see it at what is 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I've documented the entity keeping the fake sun setting here as late as 6:27 in the evening. You have a population of demons who are mentally deranged. The mentally deranged, the domestic terrorists in California who are, their condition is demon possession. They decide in their minds that they engage in more violence, more criminal conduct, as opposed to ceasing to engage in it, even as they are facing raids by the federal government and federal prison, deportation, which is how the city of Ontario is going to be treated. It is currently 3:24 p.m. where you're looking at the fake sun, where the entity is gang stalking in helicopter. This is where, again, the Ontario Police Department were gang stalking by helicopter, as you saw at 12:31 p.m. And this fake sun that's still here at 3:25 in the afternoon, it was right here over the front door. That's not sunlight, okay? So that's directly relevant to the ongoing acts of terrorism where law enforcement agencies are not free to be present because they're gang stalking. And that's what the federal government is learning. And everybody in these apartment buildings are going to federal prison. Every single last one. Units 33 through 64 are engaged in criminal surveillance. That is the intolerable facilitation. And while demons who are corrupt police department engage in terrorism, they incriminate the people of the state who are group stalking with them, living at a crime scene where a fake sun remains all day. This is where it's at 12:31 in the afternoon. That's not the sun. Neither did it ever reach any other state. It didn't even go to any other property. You've seen the fake sun in the position that it's at now over me at that street, which is Vine Avenue at 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, that's the Ontario International Airport, the same corrupt government, Alan D. WAPNER, who is being publicly exposed while they are wasting billions of dollars of resources on state surveillance. That's the entity now using a commercial plane where there is no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4, where you are at any low elevation taking off from that airport, that is speaking to what is audible activity, understanding what is the demonic pattern of conduct. That's not sunlight that's in the sky space. This is demonic activity. This is gang stalking by a corrupt airport. The Ontario International Airport has long demonstrated the lack of their needfulness in the city of Ontario, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, you have terrorists that are being employed. They are literally making money and wasting money by engaging in terrorism, by gassing up and using planes to stalk over the Woodside senior apartments, just like the Ontario Police Department terrorizing by flying over this venue in helicopter right now. This is demonic activity. This is what AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted for. This is what the people of the state are going to federal prison for. And you are going to federal prison for living at the crime scene where you're maliciously gang stalking with the demons that are the city of Ontario. The police department is gang stalking. The fire department is gang stalking. That's AVANATH Capital Management. AVANATH Capital Management that is gang stalking through their demon-possessed employees who live at the crime scene in unit number 41. You see them gang stalking just like this under the fake sun while the Ontario police are flying over my head. It's already on video. That's not a sunset, nor is the sunrise also going to be at the same property, which you've already seen on video. This is the prosecution of the state of California. All right, engaging in terrorism by helicopter, that's a communication of an unlawful threat to the life of an American citizen. And the entity does so while it's engaged in Title 18 federal stalking. Section 22618 subsections 1 and 2, and they do so revealing mental illness, the fact that you would engage in terrorism and stalking in helicopters, and you do so because you also seek to communicate a threat. While the feds are aware of every single last one of those names of the demons that are working for the Ontario Police, every single last one of them are done with law enforcement. Okay, they're not only documented on video, they are also documented on the podcast, and every single last one that has ever been documented, they're all going to federal prison. The Ontario Police Department shall be no more. This is the documentation supporting for the disbanding of a terrorist organization. This is, again, the use of the executive branch that is engaged in domestic terrorism in the United States. It is the prosecution of the state. And this is a facilitating venue where the fake sun, as a matter of documentation, remains all day long. This is exposing demonic activity. It is, again, 3:28 p.m. As you see a demon, that's AVANATH Capital Management, crossing path, gang stalking in plain view. That demon is engaging in gang stalking, not the execution of a job. He's focused on me. He also knows that I'm capturing video of it, and that impunity on the record is also why him and all the rest of them are going to federal prison. You've seen them pacing around in this parking lot with engineer light all over the brick wall, all over the parking structure. You've seen the fake sun over my head in the middle of this parking lot. None of that is the sun. And then you see the fake sun over me when I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, when I'm at the Courtyard by Marriott in Hesperia, California. There is no sharing of this natural environment. This is the specific intent to engage in that P.O.C. with knowledge that it is exposed. Alan D. WAPNER is also a corrupt demon on the corrupt city council, a bunch of gang stalkers in the city of Ontario, esteeming themselves as government actors, take over the property. Okay, which is not taking off over Terminal 2 or Terminal 4. They're at much lower of an elevation. They're flying in what is engineer light, and it's amplified inside of the apartment. They're doing so with the Ontario Police Department. P.O.C. It is currently 3:29 p.m. This documentation is, again, the basis to remove a corrupt airport, wasting billions of dollars of resources on criminal surveillance, employing terrorists at the Ontario International Airport, making money for demons for terrorists like Alan D. WAPNER. That's the president of a corrupt airport that is far from any Terminal 2 or Terminal 4 where you're at that elevation, audible, and there's certainly no sunrise. This is understanding the formula of demons who are gang stalking using planes and helicopters, and they're doing so with the community of demons who are going to federal prison for it, everybody in units 33 through 64. And I am the focus. I've shown you the specific environment where the entity is keeping this engineer light. And you're understanding what has nothing to do whatsoever. This is the maintenance of engineer light. And as I capture this video, it rapidly disappears. It's not even sunlight in the first place. Okay, this is documentation of what is terrorism by the Ontario Police Department, who is a terrorist organization exposed. This is a band of demons. I mean, every single last one of them are demon possessed. And that's the purpose also of documenting the criminal conduct that the state of California has been practicing as a matter of documentation since 2018. And the body of evidence showing the demonic environment where they're doing it is speaking to the public safety concern that concerns you wherever you are in this country, or let alone in the world. But particularly, I'm in the U.S. I am enforcing my constitutional rights, and this is the executive branch that's engaging in terrorizing American citizens. And this is understanding that these are demons that are engaging in the abuse of their governmental positions, and these are demons that fill the population in the United States, and they're engaging in what is domestic terrorism. And that's why terrorist organizations like the Ontario Police Department, Mike Lorenz, they shall have nothing to do with law enforcement. Derek Williams, nothing to do with law enforcement. Retiring from the police is under no circumstances removing what you engaged in for years, as I've been documenting terrorism since 2018 by the sex offenders, the demons who are the Ontario Police Department. It is currently, again, 3:31 p.m. This is the same light activity that you see. That is appearing at 6 o'clock in the morning. This has nothing to do with the fake sun. It's a distinct method of identifying the pattern of conduct. The demons are stalking by commercial planes. The demons are stalking by helicopter, and the demons are stalking by living at the venue. That's what gang stalking is. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 3:53 p.m. on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024. This is supplemental documentation speaking to, again, this is exposing not only criminal conduct, gross criminal activity, the unprecedented levels of hypocrisy that's exposed by the criminal conduct of a corrupt government, but also it's exposing mental illness, the condition of that is required with regard to the unique criminal system that is gang stalking, which the Ontario Police, which represents the city of Ontario, which is the state of California, and the constituents of that state, the constituents in that city, the constituents at the venue, where at 3:53 p.m., the demons who are making a decision moment by moment to continuously engage in a thoroughly defeated criminal system. It's no longer a secret, and they are suffering inevitable consequences for it. And as they are documented and the evidence is very damning, the entity is again making another decision to engage in a serious federal offense, which is again incriminating everybody else. The entity that's engaging in targeting one person together is also going to suffer the consequences together. And at 3:53 p.m., this is ongoing documentation for the podcast. You just listened to the video. And the entity is engaging what is stalking by helicopter, which again, the audible activity is a means of psychological torture, where the entity is engaging in things also, as I've documented, the vibration of the apartment built. These are demons. Okay. That's called sensational activity. They're doing so under a fake sun. They do so while I'm capturing the screenshots. So this audible activity of the stalker, that again, the state's going, these demons are literally going to produce the names of all those that are at the heliport. They're maintaining a record of what they claim to be doing, and what they're doing is gang stalking. By the way, they're not doing anything lawful. The city of Ontario is engaged in the exercise of fictitious authority altogether because the state is engaged in domestic terrorism. They're gang stalking. You don't have any constitutional authority. So while they are on the books maintaining a record, they will produce the name of the demons that are at the heliport, that are climbing into these helicopters, that are stalking at 3:53 p.m. It is gang stalking by helicopter again. And it is not coincidentally at the same time that I'm capturing screenshots, which is also what you will pay attention to, because you will see, like I referenced in the video, the fake sun in the same exact position at 12:53 in the afternoon. And that is speaking to a duration of time over 2.5 hours later. The fake sun is in the same position, whereas you have, for example, the state of Florida, the state of New York, that are 3 hours ahead of us and far away from Woodside Senior Apartments, where if the sun is over anyone in Florida, I'm not looking at it from outside of the patio window, where this venue, where you can hear the audible activity of a communication device, which is a means of monitoring me. That's also documentation of impunity. Nonetheless, you are looking at the specific environment, which is irreconcilable with regard to what you and I have referred to as what should be the natural environment. And this is because you're an ignorant onlooker, and that's completely understandable. That's why the documentation is for you to look at and understand what is not only the recognition of criminal conduct, the identification of high level of malice, life-threatening malice, but you have gang members who are using helicopters bearing weapons and badges. And these are, again, the mentally deranged, the psychotic department. And that is, again, not hyperbole. To engage in a pattern of stalking, like the Ontario Police Department has as a matter of evidence. Remember, they're not just traditionally stalking in helicopters like the Los Angeles Police Department. I have evidence that rises to the level of establishing traditional stalking by helicopter, and there is no law. There is no policy whereby you cannot establish that you are subject to harassment and stalking, including using a helicopter. It is only the gang stalking entity that has never presented, nor would they entertain it, because this is the means whereby they're terrorizing people, terrorizing the targeted individual. Okay, but this is perfectly capable of being prosecuted by using the helicopter in particular, traditional stalking. But it is specifically gang stalking, because what you will also see in this body of evidence of the entity everywhere that I'm going and remaining where I am using helicopters in that specific environment. These are not just stalkers that like to use helicopters to scare the lights out of some, that psychologically harm them and threaten their life, while police officers are gang members, demons who are gang stalking. Okay, they are doing so with knowledge of the fact that it's being documented, and that's what's relevant. For the demon whose names will be produced in the prosecution of Woodside Senior Apartments, AVANATH Capital Management, all the demons who are going to federal prison in units 3364, they are corporately targeting, corporately threatening, just like they're corporately maintaining relevant position. They're corporately maintaining audible activity, just like you hear in the background. They're corporately maintaining methods of light activity. They're corporately living under a fake sun. They're not ignorantly doing that either. They are sharing while those demons make a decision on behalf of the whole entity to stalk in the path with helicopter. Okay, this is impunity. While you hear a demon who is blood related, she's going to sit in a federal facility for the rest of her natural life. This is a psychopath who is monitoring her own daughter, and she knows that it's being documented. You see her day and night in engineered light, molesting me with engineer light while she opens the front door. That's not sunlight. That's a demon that's targeting a blood relative. You're going to federal prison for that. That's called malice. She's also engaged in criminal defamation with that same terrorist organization flying over her apartment while she utters such lies. That's a witch that's practicing what are spells, speaking word curses over your reputation. This is witchcraft. In other words, what group stalking is. It's a ritualistic system by a bunch of demons who are engaged in what you recognize, what you have termed as gang stalking, state organized stalking, group stalking. It's demonic activity. And I want to document at 3:53, the demons made a decision while I'm capturing screenshots. This is, again, with the intent to obstruct justice in violation of Title 18, Federal Stalking Statute, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. It's the same thing that the demon in Unit 55 does. As I continuously type, the demon gets louder. Then sounds like she's throwing her body around. Okay. Then the demon starts vacuuming as though she's sucking up the concrete off the floor. Okay. This is ongoing amplification of audible activity. Using helicopter is the highest threat that the state poses, while the gang stalkers are literally the police who are waiting for a moment to murder you. That's why police officers are gang stalking. They are trying to maliciously murder you. And by the way, the loss of life during the while the ongoing system of federal group stalking and monitoring is underway, that is accomplishing what is satisfying the element with regard to the requisite malice of forethought. This is the reason why. And gang stalking is reasonably to result in the loss of life where you're doing so through a bunch of demons, number one, and through a body of constituents, the malicious population who are the people of the state in California, and also through corrupt police departments like the Ontario Police, who practice gang stalking, who are engaging in what is the process because they seek to maliciously murder me. That's why they're gang stalking. They seek to psychologically torture. That's why they're gang stalking using helicopters. They also are fools exhibiting to the world their mental illness while they make yet another decision, which you see in hundreds of videos of terrorism just by the Ontario Police in the specific environment, demons who are mentally ill, in other words. Okay. And this mental illness is something that is a public safety concern because this mental illness is all around you as well. The mentally ill are not the ones that are based on the definition as the propaganda in the U.S., while a bunch of demons are falsely depicting mental illness. I want you to be clear and understand this. This level of mental illness, this psychopathic behavioral pattern, which is seeking to maliciously murder and target, psychologically harm, that's engaging in what is the routine, regular system of group stalking, as I've shown you, city to city, county to county, including state to state. This mental illness is that which presents itself as perfect sanity. This is how you have a mother trying to murder and kidnap their own blood relative, gang stalking him or her. That's mental illness exposed. Wanting to desperately present as perfectly sane. You're understanding malice. And this is what demons do. Satan is using people. These are the demon possessed. And I just want to document at 3:53 p.m. The entity is engaging in what you hear in the background. That's Title 18 federal stalking conduct. It's also satisfying the element of relevant positioning in order to use your phone to do so. And it's also audible activity in the engineered light. It's P.O.C. What do gang stalking police officers do? They engage in the same exact elements using helicopters. And they do so while they are also aware of your documentation. That is documentation of a criminal intent to retaliate, to threaten, to terrorize, and harass as an entity. This is federal level harassment. Not just these demons who are going to federal prison for gang stalking as a part of a police. What the gang stalking police do, the constituents of the state are doing with them. They're going to federal prison together. They may not be cell buddies, but they're all subject to that same sentence. Mandatory federal prison for gang stalking with corrupt police who are trying to murder you. They're trying to kidnap you. Intolerable facilitation. Necessary with regard to disincentivizing and dismantling, punishing to the fullest degree group stalking, which is a criminal system that the government is relying on with those who live in the state, the population. And it's unfortunately exposing, but a glory be to God, it's exposing what you need to know of. The fact that the demon possessed, it's more popular, it's surrounding, and you can recognize it through their behavior. You can recognize it through the malice with which they exhibit, as the malice exhibited while they engage in this pattern of conduct, and also through the presence in the specific environment, their behavior in that specific environment, which is not a coincidence. You're not in relevant position with your hazard lights on under the fake sun, while the entity is also gang stalking with the state. accidentally or ignorantly. Those are demons who are gang stalking. I've shown you this pattern of conduct over and over and over again. Okay. Now, with regard to the practical outworking of how you're prosecuting and how you're uprooting the sources of public corruption, you saw on video the demons who are crawling into commercial planes, and they are wasting fuel. They're wasting man hours. They are literally wasting what is money that can go to other profitable resources. And by profitable, I mean benefiting those who actually need it, instead of employing terrorists, employing demons that are trying to murder and kidnap someone. You have the operations of an airport centered around what I say as I say it, my every move, monitoring my genitalia. That's a lot of resources. That takes a lot of time and attention and manpower. Terrorists should not be employed and be paid a salary to do so, because that's exactly what the Ontario International Airport represents. That's exactly what the Ontario Police Department represents. On top of that, they are representing the corrupt executive branch in California, and they are literally being paid in order to execute a malicious murder. That's why you have gang stalking police officers. They have engaged in placing their hands on the target individual, which is a kidnapping. They have no jurisdiction, no authority under the law, in fact. And while they exercise fictitious authority, stalking in the specific environment, they're so desperate, they would rather me continuously document this podcast rather than continuously capture screenshots. And I'm going to do both. And while they continuously engage in that pattern of feudalistic, feckless tactics, because of they're fearful, and they're also desperate and psychotic. Because no sane person makes a decision to gang stalk again, you're going to federal prison for it. You're literally going to hand over the name of that demon, or those demons that are sitting in the cockpit, and they're going to federal prison. But they're making these decisions while they choose, and understand how mentally deranged Satan is. Satan is a spirit. He's using people. Their mental illness is born of their condition, and they will be held accountable for it, because Satan made me do it. It's not a defense. They know how inappropriate. They know it's how unlawful. They know how creepy, i.e. demonic. They know how terrorizing it is. That's why it's a malicious system. That's why it's supposed to, but it doesn't appear as anything normal. And it's certainly not free conduct. The entity is engaged in gang stalking at the Ontario Police Department, where the fake sun is over me. Yes, you're disbanding those demons. They're engaging in criminal activity in the very police station. Okay, they're gang stalking at the Woodside Senior Apartments, and doing so at 3:53 p.m. while I'm capturing screenshots. So take a look at the evidence that the demons are fearful of. And this is exactly why the people of the state go to federal prison for gang stalking with murderers and kidnappers, who are also the people of the state, who share in that criminal system, profiting off of it together. All right, this is the same population. They get insurance out on the targeted individual. They have fraudulent documents made about that targeted individual. Remember, these are not ordinary crimes. Where the pattern of conduct is underway, it has been automatically, and it is axiomatic. Where domestic terrorism, where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway, such criminal acts such as insurance policies on the target individual, oh, you're going to federal prison for that. This is the very purpose for trying to murder and kidnap through demons like a corrupt police department, like the Ontario Police, who are fully and directly engaged in that criminal pattern of conduct, by the way. All right. It is currently 4:07 p.m. This is P.O.C. It's currently December 3rd, 2024. And this is an ongoing threat to my life that I remain subject to, as the elements of monitoring are ceaselessly underway. None of this is free, constitutionally protected conduct. It's while I am living while subject to this criminal system. The entity has failed in its sacrifice unto Satan, but nonetheless, they continuously engage in it. And that's why you're listening to a third party who's going to a federal facility for the rest of her life. Okay. Rather than sacrificing me, she has sacrificed her freedom and reputation while wanting to present as a sane human being. This demon is nothing close to that. That level of malice is exposing what is mental illness. And you have a police department exhibiting high level of malice. I'm letting you know right now, and their behavior, the P.O.C. is exposing a department-wide a department full of mentally ill, demon-possessed gang stalkers. Gang stalking is nothing than the outward manifestation of their condition. So yes, they need Christ Jesus. They need to repent. They need deliverance, but they also need federal time. They shall be disbanded. They shall have nothing to do with law enforcement, based on the level of depravity that these defiled human beings have plummeted to, engaging in criminal conduct antithetical to the very purpose that they're supposed to serve. And you are not free to be present, vicariously or directly, while you are stalking and surveilling an American citizen, which is what the Ontario Police Department are doing in the city of Ontario. It's currently 4:09 p.m. This is P.O.C.